Hey there, men. This is Mike, and I just wanted to share this video with you. I kind of felt led this morning to just record this and send it on to you guys. I feel like it's a specific message to the men of our church, my specific body. But if you're watching this and you're not a part of this church, and it obviously, if your heart is stirred, then go with it, and that's probably the Holy Spirit. But anyway, like I said, this is a message for the men, and I feel specifically to our church, but also, if there's any women watching this, of course, you're warriors as well. So this is a message to the warriors, so anyway, for the last couple weeks, our pastor John has been speaking from the book of Ephesians, and it's been really cool. There's been a lot of good stuff that's come from it, and it's so cool how the Holy Spirit will use a message and just plant different things into our hearts and encourage and affirm and heal. There's hundreds of people there, all being touched in different ways from the Holy Spirit. He takes our words and plants them into our hearts. Plants the truth and plants it into our hearts. And so one of the things I just wanted to focus on, there's been some highlights for me personally, is Paul, and just how he's been handling certain situations. Several weeks ago, our pastor also was just kind of sharing the vision of our church and encouraging the body to kind of come in and join in with him, with us as a body, and impact the community to our vision is to touch the disenchanted hearts. That's what God has called us as a church to do, and bringing, just encouraging our body. And one of the scriptures was actually out of Acts that he shared that morning, and this specific verse stood out to me, and it's been kind of, this sort of theme has been every week since. So it says, "Through the Spirit, they urged Paul not to go to Jerusalem. But when our time was up, we left and continued on our way." So I just thought that was amazing, because Paul was going to Jerusalem, and through the leadership of the Holy Spirit, the other disciples urged him not to go because of the risk and the danger that was involved. And Paul, so full of the Lord and a mission, just went anyway. I just thought that was amazing. And so anyway, last week, I just want to get straight to the point so this isn't such a long video. Last week also, John was speaking out of Ephesians, and there was actually another verse in there. He was cross-referencing again in Acts, in Acts I think it's 19, where Paul is talking, where it's the account of Paul in Ephesus, and there's this great kind of turmoil because of the confrontation of the Greek goddess, and these metal workers are crafting all these idols, and they're losing money because the gospel of Christ is advancing so violently and so forcefully. It's confronting the powers of the demonic and the powers of this false god that these folks have been worshiping, and they're losing money, and they're getting all upset, and there's this, like I said, there's this, if you read in Acts 19, it's pretty amazing how detailed the account is about how hostile it was, and Paul is saying, just let me get in front of them. I just need to get in front of them. And I thought that was amazing. Of course, he doesn't go in front of them, but I just thought the heart of Paul was so cool in that story. And to get to my point, and I feel this is what God is speaking to our men in our church. John mentioned something sort of in passing, but kind of brought some attention to it, is the issue of a warrior. And I felt like there was something on that word, and I feel like the Holy Spirit was probably stirring up a lot of things in a lot of individuals, men and women, and I believe that we're all made in God's image. That men, you are made in the very image of God, and one of those characteristics is a warrior. and you have that DNA within you, and so I just wanted to just kind of point that out, and maybe even just, hey, if you experience something Sunday morning when he spoke that word, I think there's a characteristic of God, the warrior characteristic of God that you are connecting with, that the Holy Spirit is connecting those pieces together, because you too are made in the very image of God, and you are a warrior, and I believe that God has placed very specific things within each one of your hearts, and it involves war, and it involves warring and being a warrior, and that's the exact identity, and that's an exact characteristic of God. So I just want to encourage and bless that moment, if that happened to you, where you were sort of relating to the characteristic of the warrior of God. If that makes any sense, I hope it does. But anyway, something I want to point out too about this Paul thing is that he wanted to go, and he was very adamant about the work of God and work of Christ, and he wanted to be in front of the crowd and wanted to go to Jerusalem. And I just want to point out that although that is his heart, that's how God created him as a warrior, and you as well. But it wasn't his own strength. And this is a tricky thing, because this could become religious, and I don't want it to be at all. Don't go into that religious sort of thinking about this, and to sort of disqualify you. Okay, so there was a strength that comes from the Holy Spirit that made Paul so zealous and so focused on advancing the kingdom that he didn't care about his own life. That's the point, is that he was so consumed with the love and passion of Christ and his gospel that he was going to face death and wasn't afraid of it. So that's the point. That's the power of the Holy Spirit. And that's why I wanted to point out that wasn't his own strength, but it also was within him, because he was made in the image of God, and so are you. And so, we're made for war, and I hope this helps you connect. Okay, maybe you've heard that before. Yeah, we're in a war. I'm made for war, but I don't know how that connects. Well, I hope that connects, because God is telling this amazing story, and he's cast you into it, and you have a vital, vital role that only you can fulfill. The world needs what God has placed in your heart. So I just encourage you to just go there with the Lord. Just focus on that with God, and allow him to cultivate a vision for the desires he's placed in your heart. And I hope that connects you with war. There's a battle going on. The enemy comes to lie, steal, kill, and destroy. And we are warriors to confront and destroy and push back those things. And we must fight. We must fight for the lost. We must fight for our wives and our children. And so I just encourage you to rise up and just start to fight for your families. And another note too, guys, is that we're made for war and adventure. This is a dangerous story God is telling that he's cast us into. And don't leave your families and your wives especially out. Your wives are definitely wanting to come along and join in with this great adventure and battle. They have a key and vital role. It would be a tragic thing to leave them behind. So bring them in. Lead them into it as well. So anyway, my last thing I want to say, I'm sorry this is so long, but the Lord has been showing me Matthew 11:12, and it says, I think the NIV, it says, the kingdom, since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of heaven has been advancing forcefully, and forceful men lay hold of it. Or in other translations, since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, and violent men take it by force. And so that's an encouragement. That helps you connect with the war. That actually will connect you into battle. That is your battle. The kingdom of heaven must advance, and you must war into it and lead. But again, not in your own strength. You have to sit. If you charge the field, you get taken out fast. You must just get. I just feel like you should. There's a leadership of the Holy Spirit. I'll just leave it at that. I'm kind of lost for words on that. But anyway, there's so many things to say about this. Maybe this needs to be more than one video. But anyhow, violent men take it by force. Advancing the kingdom forcefully. Getting into our community and touching the disenchanted hearts. Plucking them out of darkness. There's people, their souls are perishing forever. And God has called us as a church in this little community of Franklin and Spring Hill and Columbia, Brentwood, even Nashville and the surrounding areas to touch the disenchanted hearts and bring them into the kingdom of heaven so that they can experience the love and joy and freedom and life of Jesus Christ. So I just hope this is encouraging to you guys. One last story I'm going to just share with you. So after all of this, we have a prayer meeting that we meet on Mondays here at our house. Just a few folks that we have in our community that come together. And we were just praying, and we were just asking God. We were just praying for our church again. And just if there was any walls, Lord, if there's any walls that keep us from you, Lord, would you come and break them down? Break them down, Lord. And from that, it moved into some other prayers where we were praying for the men. Suddenly we started, so we're praying against the walls, asking God to break down walls, and then it moved into praying for the men of our church, that God would give us strength and just start to call us and grab a hold of our hearts and just encourage our hearts. And then it progressed into a prayer for a battle cry. And I don't even know exactly what that means, but I know the Lord is in it. And so I just pray and hope that maybe resonates in you, that God in our church, I believe, is raising up a battle cry for the men and the women, that deep within their hearts God has placed a desire. And I just pray and I just hope that this battle cry will arise, that we'll have a battle cry to win the lost and advance the kingdom violently and press on against any opposition. So that's all I have for you, and I hope that it was encouraging. And let us just allow God to take us there. What if we just submitted our hearts? What if we just allowed God to take control of our lives? I know we talk a lot about financial breakthrough in our church because so many of us are self-employed and facing a trying time, and it is important. And but I just pray that and that's a legitimate need. Okay, and I'm not saying that it isn't, because I'm self-employed and I am in agreement with that prayer. But let us just allow God to grip our hearts. What if we surrendered our hearts to the Lord 100%? What could happen? It only takes one to change a nation. What if there was an army